What's up, very good afternoon, South Africa. This afternoon, welcome to another week's installment of Yilungelo Lakho is your right. Of course, we're coming to you live right here on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. I'm your host, Ndivhuwo, speech in Zaumbu. Studio. You can call us on our number, that is 011 714 6918 and of course 6919. Send me those emails to consumer@sabc.co.za. And of course, you go and find us on social media. Our Facebook page is Yilungelo Lakho. Go check out our status today, drop your comment, and of course you can check me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @speechnzaumbi. Drop those tweets and then hashtag Yilungelo Lakho. South Africa, from wherever you're watching us from, good afternoon. Program, how to avoid falling victim to tender scams. Have a look at this.
The government will never, after giving you an award letter, ask you to deposit money into any account, because government buys from you. Government is supposed to pay you.
Angifuni uqamba manga lezi igebengu zona zihlakaniphile kakhulu kodwa iqiniso ukuthi abantu bakithi ukube nabo bayabhekisisa baqaphele.
It was difficult for me to go to sit and tell them that this is how it has happened.
In total, it was 1,032,459.51 cents.
Now, winning a tender to do business with the government entities an opportunity desperate entrepreneurs would do anything to take advantage of, including investing their last penny, all in hope of breaking into the competitive world of business. But in the mad rush of raking profits, some end up falling victim to sophisticated tender scams run by criminal syndicates who clearly disguise themselves as government employees. Have a look at this.
Aliqela amashishini aseleme ngokuthengisela urhulumente impahla kunye nenkonzo. Amasebe achitha iibhiliyoni zeerandi kumashishini athengisa yonke into efuna ngurhulumente nesetyenziswa ngurhulumente kwimizamo yokufaka iinkonzo eluntwini. Nokuba kufunwa iincwadi zesikolo okanye ubuxhakaxhaka obusetyenziswa kwizibhedlele zikawonke-wonke, urhulumente uthembele kula mashishini abucala.
We've got close to 1 million transactions a month buying goods and services.
Kumashishini amaninzi eli lithuba lokwenza imali, kodwa kuqala kufuneka umntu afake iinkcukacha zeshishini lakhe ezincwadini, i-database ngolwasemzini, phambi kokuba aqalise ukuzuza kumathuba okusebenza norhulumente. Emva koko alinde loo mhla igama lakhe liyakuthi libizwe. Kwabo baswele umonde, loo mlindo ufana nowentombi ezili-10. Uthi ungacingelanga suke kufike ucingo okanye umnxeba othi ufumene ithenda karhulumente. Ngale tender kuthi wathenga izixhobo ezithile ngemali yakho uzise endaweni ithile. Kulolo thuba kanye ke apho abantu abaninzi bathi bachaneke.
Bathengiswa izinto ezifana noma cellphone, izinto ezifana noma big screen television, abanye bathengiswa ama-truck, into zokusebenza imigwaqo, bathengiswa lezi igebengu. And then lezi igebengu basitshela ukuthi ngicela ukuthi ni deliver endaweni ethizeni.
Umzingisi Tyelengane ngusomashishini osazizamelayo kwilokishi yasemfuleni eKapa. Wothusa lucingo oluthi ufumene ithenda kwisebe lezolimo namahlathi kunye nakwisebe lemisebenzi yoluntu, i-Public Works. Wathunyelwa ileta enokuthi xa uyijongile uthi ngenene isuka kwarhulumente. Wakufuna ukuba athenge impahla ezithile azithenge kumzimveliso othile eKapa. Kuye eli yayilithuba ekudala ililindele. Waboleka ama-100 leerandi wayekuhlawula isiqingatha kwiakhawunti kwakusithiwa yikarhulumente. Walindela ucingo oluthi uza kuhlawulwa, zange lufike. Wagqiba efunela isebe ufuna ukuqonda ukuba iphi imali yokuthiwa uza kuyifumana. Isebe lathi alizange limnike ithenda. It was difficult for me to go to sit
I tell them that this is how it has happened.
Usicelo Nzimande waseThekwini naye waba lixhoba lobuqhetseba. Wathi wakubona imbepha ezinophawu lufana nqwa nesebe likarhulumente zange erhane le nto. Wafaka imali njengemiyalelo walindela ukuva kumagosa esebe ngentlawulo yakhe. Walinda wancama.
So in total, it was 1,032,459.51 cents. Yeah, it was very difficult to find out that I've lost so much money in a space of like 2 weeks.
Abasomashishini bayinxalenye intaphane yabantu amagama abo akwi-database karhulumente. Urhanelwa ukuba amagosa ayasebenzela urhulumente kunye nawayefudula anesandla kulo mkhonyovu ukudlulisa iinkcukacha kwizikrelemnqa. Igosa elintloko kwicandelo lijongene ukuthengwa kwezinto ngurhulumente, Chief Procurement Officer uKenneth Brown uthi abantu kufuneka bathi qwa xa besebenza norhulumente.
Many a times what happens is actually people even give the address of the department and you are convinced, no, but you know this is National Treasury, it's 240 Madiba. So you come and you deliver at this. Somebody can just wait downstairs, collect the goods, sign for them. Once you leave, they can actually walk with the goods and put it in another bucket.
Izikrelemnqa zikralekile kakhulu ungazideleli. Amaxhoba obubi aqonda ukuba achanekile xa kufika ixesha lokuba kufuneka kubhatelwe.
Into ebuhlungu kunazo zonke kodwa ukuthi abantu bakithi uma sebedliwe impahla yabo noba imali yabo asikwazi thina njengomnyango ukubasiza ngoba i-department angeke ikwazi ukukhokhela into engazange ifune idinge or ithenge.
Oku kuthetha ukuba usicelo umzingisi ayekufana mthanyane. Yiyo loo nto ngoku sebebeke ithemba labo kwabasemagunyeni babawubulale lo ufe nya lo mkhuba nabo bawuthembelelayo. Uvuyisile Mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Well, masimabe ngasibini ke ngelonqaku esilenzele nguvuyisile Mdoda. Na ukungena kabanzi ke kubuqhophololo bethenda ubuthwaxa abathengi abaninzi bazisekele emashishini anenjongo zokufumana ithenda. Masamkele indondo zanamhlanje asinoThami Mchunu ovela pha kwisebe lemisebenzi yezoluntu, and that is the Department of Public Works. We also welcome Francois Naude ovela pha ku-MarketSqr Supply Network. We also have Captain Ndivhuwo Mulamu ovela kunkonzo yasesipolisi, and that is the SABC. Actually, it's just coming from the Hawks. That's why she's joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, lady and two gentlemen on Yilungelo Lakho this afternoon, and welcome.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Mr. Thami Mchunu, coming from Public Works. How big is the issue of procurement tenders, and especially ubuqhophololo obesibonayo? Nangamadoda ayakhala ku-insert umntu uthi ubeyile wabizwa, there was this invitation that was handed out to them, but inkulu kangakanani le ngxaki sijongene nayo?
Sibonge msakazi ukusimema ukuthi sibe ingxenye luhlelo. Siphiwe sinenkinga enkulu njengohulumeni. Sinenkinga enkulu njenge-Department of Public Works. Le nkinga lena lapha abantu bakithi bedliwa khona, bedliwa imali zabo, bedliwa nempahla abazithengiswayo lezi igebengu. Ukukupha nje umzekeliso lapha edepartmentini yethu sesirekhode in the last from say 2012 up to now sesirekhodishe ama-instances awu-113 kusho ukuthi sesibe nezimo abantu abafikayo aba-113 bezozikhalela ukuthi sebedliwe. Lokho okubadle imali uma ngabe uhlanganisa sonke leso sibalo sabantu aba-113 isibalo semali singaphezu ka-50 million rand.
But over the years, you're talking about 130 in the past 5 years. Or let me just say that 20 years ago, we didn't know about this problem. It wasn't as big as it is. Of course, because, you know, the tenderpreneurship business was not as big in South Africa. But
angisho nje ukuthi thina njengomnyango saqala ukuyibona le nkinga ngo-2009 2010. Kodwa ke liye lathatha igxaba elikhulu kuleminyaka emithathu edlule. Ngalokho ke sishintshile inhlelo ze SCM, supply chain management processes. Sazishintsha kwaqaliswa uhlelo olusha. Njengamanje bonke abantu abangafaka isicelo eminyangweni abantu abaregistiwe. Uma ungaregistiwe eminyangweni kwi-database yomnyango yazi ukuthi angeke ukwazi ukuthola itender.
Okay.
So uma ngabe umuntu eza kuwena ethi uthola itender emnyangweni wezemsebenzi womphakathi ungakaze uyiregister, ungakaze futhi uyiregister noma uyicele, kufanele wazi ukuthi ubugebengu lobo.
Sazothetha ke ngezo zinto. Let's come to you, Ndivhuwo, and talk about the modus operandi of these scammers. We see men who are saying that they were given invitations, and we know how big the problem is. As Hawks, you continuously do investigations when it comes to these issues, especially in the division of procurement. Just what kind of other issues do you deal with when you're looking at these scams?
Ndivhuwo Siphiwo. From our department, what we normally come across with modus operandi coming from the syndicators, what they normally do is that when they send out tender invitations, they normally use the government department's logos. And the mistake that maybe the umphakathi, the consumers don't even realize or maybe don't notice at some times, is that with the email address of the sender to you or of the supplier, they write, let's say for instance, Mulamu n@saps.gov.org.za. We need to pay attention to detail. There is no such email that will have two government, let's say maybe logos at the same time, or maybe emblem at the same time. You cannot have a gov and an org at the same time. And honestly, when we don't even look at the supplier's name, you might find that you are only dealing with an individual. There is no way that supply chain management can have one individual office as a personnel. You might have at least 3 or 2 people that in case you don't get hold of Ndivhuwo, you can get hold of Francois in the office. A cell phone number, it's never given out to tenders or to as an invitation out there. You cannot find an individual say, you can call me back on this number. We always use, or rather they always use a landline.
All right.
And other thing, let's say, for instance, if you come across a logo, you have to, a department, a government department logo, you have to go into the website and check where are they situated. And if that landline number is also directing you to that specific address, you might find out that the landline number that is given to you, it's also, for instance, coming from Centurion, and the office is based in Pretoria. Those 2 things you need also to take advantage of that situation.
Take a look at that. Okay, let's now come to you, Francois. You are basically coming from a body that you know, make sure that there is a clear negotiation or perhaps transparency of these tenders, be it coming from the supplier or any kind of organization. But what keeps on driving these issues that I've asked from Ndivhuwo, but also I believe that the different kinds or the different categories when it comes to these scams, just take us through those.
That's correct. I think I first became aware of these scams probably 16 years ago, and then they were a lot less sophisticated. The very first scenario was a simple scenario where a tender was advertised and people who responded to that needed to pay a document fee. Now that is quite common in general supply chain practice, that people are asked to pay a document fee. That's probably getting less and less of an issue today, where more documents are available electronically. But that was the modus operandi back then. And people are asked to pay 1,000, 2,000, even up to 10,000 rand for a tender document, and then there was no real body behind that, and the guys lost that particular amount.
So the scammers take leverage on that. It
was, yes. So they basically just pocketed the tender document fee. Then there's a situation where the victim is positioned as an agent or distributor of another manufacturer or primary supplier, and there are different ways that they coerce the victim into that role. The victim then is asked to deliver goods to the ultimate customer, but he has to buy the goods from the primary supplier or manufacturer then, and he pays a fee into a fraudulent bank account, and that's the way he loses money. And another scenario is where the victim is coerced into believing that there's an insider in the customer organization that'll help him to to win the business, and therefore he pays money into an account.
And also they fall victim to that.
So
I think after the break
ways.
it will be very important for us to also look at some of these issues, especially the transparency in the procurement division on its own. I do understand that you're saying that this is not just a public works issue or a government issue. Any private company that could find themselves in a position where they have to require certain services from suppliers, these issues are just predominant. But it's quite scary when you think about it, that in South Africa, when people are looking for opportunities this way, there could also be such scams. Well, it could also be a part of our discussion right here in studio. Callers, the number is 011 714 691 and 6919. Well, today we're looking at the issues of scams. Be a part of it. After the break, we'll continue with our discussion. Stay with us. Welcome again. Welcome to Gabriel's Children. Basayithatha kunemingcebe yakho apha ku-show yethu. The number is 011 714 691 and of course 6919. Sifuna ukuva kuwe ke ikakhulukazi ke kosomashishini abasakhasayo apha emakhaya kuba zeziphi ingxaki enithena jongana nazo mhlawumbe xa ningena kolishishino lwe-tenders. Ndiyazi uba abantu abaninzi besezivile into yokubana uzawuva kuthiwa kunentshontsho kufuneka ulikhuphile mhlawumbe lo mali yokunyoba noba yintoni na mhlawumbe kufuneka uyikhuphile kuba ukwazi ukungena kolishishino. Sinazo kwingxaki zethu apha estudio namhlanje sazixela into yokubana zintoni ekufuneka sijongile phambi uba sivume okanye singene koloshishino lwe-tenders. Let's just come to you again, Mr. Thami. As the Department of Public Works, I do understand that you give out quite a lot of tenders up in again. Zintoni, let's get into the first step. Anifika kula idea, anifika kula xesha lokubana you need a tender. Definitely you're going to, come, deliberate, and then eventually decide that you want a tender. Let's say for a certain good or a service. What goes into the process? What are the steps?
Okay. As P1, umangabe department is determined. Sorry.
Feel free.
Okay. Well, when the department has determined a need for a service, that determination is made into an advert.
All right.
The tender is advertised in the National Tender Bulletin of the National Treasury. It's advertised on the departmental website as well as national media. Kusho ukuthi zintathu indawo lapho ama-tenders abantu bengakhona ukuwabona khona ama-tenders asemthethweni. Uma ngabe ke ese-advertisiwe lawo ma-tender abantu babe obviously invite abantu babe sebefaka ke ama-tenders wabo izicelo zabo yami. Uma sebefakile ke lezo zicelo zabo zibe sezi-assesswa ukuthi ziyahambisana yini nalokho okubekiwe noma okufunwayo. Uma ngabe kufuneka umsebenzi letha mhlawumbe ama-toilet ngenza isibonelo, uma ngabe ungalethi i-toilet uzobekwa eceleni kuthi labo ke abahambisanile nethenda njengoba ibekiwe ebese kusho ukuthi ikomiti elenza lokho. Lelo komiti libe selidlulisela lo mqulu wabantu abahambisana nethenda lidlulele ekomitini elilandelayo. Lelo komiti ke elilandelayo okuthiwa i-bid adjudication. I-bid adjudication ke ibheka izinto ezifana ne-prize, ibheka izinto ezifana no triple BEE nezinye. And then ke emva kwalokho ebese ke kukhishwa i-award kusho ukuthi lowo ke oyitholayo i-tender. Emva kwalokho uthola incwadi wena oyinqobile i-tender leyo. Uzothola incwadi eshoyo ukuthi i-department iyakunika lo msebenzi, ubheke ukuthi wenze esikhathini esingaka ngemali engaka, and then incwadi leyo izostempiwa unikwe umuntu okufanele uxhumane naye emnyangweni.
Okay.
Njoba eshilo usisi Ndivhuwo akuvamile ukuthi kube umuntu oyedwa, baba babili noma babe bathathu yini na ukuze ungabona nomuntu wakho wedwa.
All right.
Bathathu abantu ozoxhumana nabo kuconfirm ukuthi yashaw vele uyitholile le tender, and then emva kwalokho ke ube sewenza umsebenzi.
All right.
Mase wenza umsebenzi was to go
to come to that, perhaps, there needs to be a change of policy. One just cannot help but wonder if perhaps, these loopholes are not created by the existing policy and how it's carried out. Ndivhuwo, you have said in the past couple of years you have had quite an escalating number when it comes to the scams, but in the financial year 2015-2016, there's been quite a success. What exactly are you referring to?
The national head of the DPCI, the Directorate for Priority Crimes Investigation, our General, Lieutenant General Tlemeza, he has actually established a national task team, about 7 members who are actually working on this type of investigation. For the financial year 2015-2016, we have at least established a successful 21 arrests, of which one of which last week has been actually sentenced 4 years direct imprisonment, where actually the accused has agreed to pay back the amount of 55,000 rands back to the complainant. Yes.
All right. And I understand also you're saying that as the number escalates, also, you know, your measures or the task team, there was a task team that was established, yes. But what other preventative measures are you putting in place?
So far, we are working with the government departments. Each department actually has their own investigative team. We are working together with those so that we can at least help to curb this kind of tendencies or bad habits, which are actually people stealing money from the people who are actually working for their families in that way, yes.
All right. Francois, you want to add something, Mr.
Ngithanda ukugcizelela lokho akushoyo usisi. Siyathokoza kakhulu ukuthi amaphoyisa isikakhulukazi ama-Hawks ayicracker le syndicate ngoba ileso isikhalo besinaso kakhulu sokuthi alikho ithimba elidedicated ukunyathela lesihlava lesi esingene. And thina njengomnyango kakhulukazi i-Department of Public Works ngonyaka odlule siye saba ne-national campaign lapho size khona kwa SABC wonke ama-public radio services sasiranisha umkhankaso ukuqwashisa abantu bakithi ukuthi ababheke ukuthi khona le scam lezi ngoba khona lobugebengu bokudliwa kwabantu saya emaphephandabeni saranisha futhi nakhona leyo campaign leyo siyajabula ukuthi abantu bakithi bakhona abezwa ngoba sakhipha inamba abantu bakithi abangazifonela uma ngabe kukhona nje ungakuthembi ngethenda mhlawumbe umuntu akufonela athi usuwini tender emoyeni zikhona inamba sinazo la okufanele ukuthi umuntu wakithi azifonele ukuconfirma i-authenticity yaleyo tender.
But Thami, in some of these cases you'd find in Dokbana there is an inside a job. Kukhona umuntu ongaphakathi who's handing out these tenders, or perhaps we know that we cannot talk about tenders and not associate them with the word greed. Kukhona abantu abangaphakathi who are handing these tenders illegally. Banabantu babo, the job is basically done inside without really having a third party from the outside. What are you doing as umnyango to ensure in Dokbana such people are punished, or rather put according to the law?
Kufanele ngikusho lokho thina emnyangweni wethu kwi-National Department of Public Works asikakaze sibabambe oqotsheni abantu abagangayo kanjalo.
But you are aware that there are certain cases.
Kuyiqiniso kona ukuthi kuye kube khona ukusola ukuthi labantu yaze kanjani baze kanjani ngami oba yaze kanjani inamba yami, for example, abantu bangaphandle. Kodwa ke uphiko lwethu langaphakathi loma investigations i-risk and investigations luya bonke abantu abasebenza e-SCM bahlale behlungwa sonke isikhathi bephenywa lifestyle audits, their bank accounts and everything.
Let's just quickly take a call. I was calling us from PE. Well, just a reminder that you can also be a part of our discussion right here in studio. The number to call is 011-714-6918 and of course 6919. Now I've got France who's calling me from PE. France, welcome to the show.
Buti lumuntu ozowenza incwadi obhizizizi uba usashoda into ethi kayiphrezele elizokutenderisha.
Wenza incwadi kanjani Buti?
Ikontraka nokwenza indlela into ezinjalo.
Okay, uthi wenza indlela?
Ndenza incwadi ezokutenderisha for i-business.
Okay. Yes.
Sendinazo ke ezinye ngongisashoda nge-CIDP ezimbini ne-energy clarity.
Okay. Quickly. Kwenzekani ke ngokuthi uthini umbuzo wakho?
So ke ngifuna uqonda ukuba xa subeke ngoku ento ezendizifumene ukuze nifumane tender esemthethweni kufanele ndenze njani ukuze ningahlangani nezi-corruption ezithethwa ngazo.
All right. Ubuthama sakuphendula ke France xa sibuya pha intengisweni kwangoku ke basike sibe sambe siyobona kuba kuthengiswa ntoni pha ezivenkileni. After the break you can also call and be a part of us. So actually I'll be checking out those Facebook messages so better make sure that your message is also there on a Facebook status and be counted and be part of our discussion. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back. You're still watching Yilungelo Lakho right here on SABC 1 in Mzansi for sure. Just a reminder that you can also call us right here on studio. The number is 011-714-6918 and 6919. I said you should send me those messages on Facebook, and now it's about time that I check those messages. I've got Temba Zizi Jamal says people must stop taking shortcuts in order to get rich faster because these people know very well their targets. Masofi Phakwe says msasazi uhulumeni kufanele kumathenda akhe ame awa-advertise endaweni eyodwa kaziwe ukuthi i-newspaper ukutholakala kuyo amathenda ngoba buningi ubugebengu obenzeka eSouth Africa. Mhlawumbe kungaba ne-website eyaziwayo ukuthi yamathenda indaba nje ye-internet ubugebengu buningi kuyona. Well, you can still continue to send those messages also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @speechandzawu with, of course, #Yilungelo Lakho. Well, before the break, Thami, we had Francois calling us from PE, and he wanted to know umehluko phakathi kwe-legitimate document. Like he said, he's the one, he's got forms and all that. But how do you check legitimacy now when it comes to the actual document? I do understand that earlier on you spoke about my SMSs, Ndivhuwo. What else can we check? Especially because he wants to tap into the business.
Okay, njoba kade ngisho ungeke uyithole ithenda ngokuthi umuntu akufonele akutshele ukuthi ena kukhona ithenda muphe ama details ama contact details wakho bese zokuthumezela isigebengu leso esesiku targetile already njoba kade esho omunye umbukeli lana emakhaya. Okokuqala nje kufanele ubheke kwi national media noma emaphephandabeni ama tenders aya advertisewa omasipala ama province no national. But
I think the question, I do understand that they're out there all the time, but the question is legitimacy. But I'm going to come to that. Because they're out there. Every day there's a tender that's being advertised. You want to touch on that, Ndivhuwo?
Yes, if I can add on what Thami is saying. In most cases, when you need to find out if this tender is really legitimate or not, when you receive a phone call from a supplier or a person who has actually advertised a tender to you, they will not call you and pressurize you to actually give you quotations and say send now. And in most cases, what people should take note of, when this actually tender invitations personnel send you the tender, what they normally do, they already have a product code. And they know very well that they've already created a website for you to look into when you go on Google. Immediately when you go on Google, because they will actually laying you astray, they'll actually be providing you with information. They'll tell you that go onto the website. When you go into the website and punch in that product code, automatically it goes to the created website.
Okay.
In that way, you fell prey for it. We need to avoid such things. When the tender is being advertised, nobody's going to call you to say, send in a quotation. Because you're actually going to what Francois was saying, the main the main manufacturer. When you send in your quotation to the manufacturer, they already have that product for you, of which it's fraudulent. In the same time, on the same breath, you are going to deposit money into their account.
All right.
Number one, you've lost money. When you take your own quotation to the people who actually invited you for tender, they will accept it. In the meantime, when they say that the money has been transferred into the specific account or the website that they've created for you to see.
All right.
Once they receive the money, done deal. You are no longer going to receive any communication from them.
Francois, you want to enter that?
Yeah, I think there are many different ways that you should check because these scammers are getting very sophisticated. So they set up their own websites. They send you documentation that looks like a real department's documentation. They create phone numbers that look like that. They create email addresses that look like that. So what I would suggest is that people should look in different ways. So they should check that phone number. Does it look like, if you go to the department's website, does it look like the same number? Does the email address look like the addresses that are advertised on the department's website? You should try and engage with someone inside that department. So is there such and such a tender? Is there such and such an order? Just phone the supply chain department.
Just hold that thought. Let's go in here. We've got a caller who's calling us from Tembisa, and it's Precious. Precious, welcome to our discussion.
Hello, Baba Ninjani.
Sikhona mama kunjani?
Sikhona. mina ngine-problem lana ne ubaba wami ne wabhalisa i-tender last year ne and then washona manje ushona kanti i-tender khona asithi ushona namhlanje mhlawumbe i-tender khona ingene namhlanje or ingene kusasa. So now all of a sudden sizwa ukuthi bathi uAntamuye otake over and le tender lebo kuyithenda yama-paver iskonti like amasayidini eskontizo, you understand. So mina ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi is it possible ukuthi uAntama khona ukuyibhalisa while anabantwana kumele kwenzakale kanjani into engifuna ukuyazi yona leyo.
All right. Okay. But Thami, do you want to take on that? Or maybe let's do it after the break. Let's do it after the break. Well, you can also call us and be a part of us right here on the show. 011-714-6918 and 6919. I'm waiting for your messages on social media and on Twitter. I'm waiting just to hear, especially people who have had experiences with these suppliers and especially the database or the procurement divisions. What has been your experience and what caution would you like to give to other consumers who are watching right there? After the break, we'll continue. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Bakona sangena ekhaya ukhumbule banamhlanje kunkqubo yethu sithetha ngomushishino lwe-tenders. We're talking about, you know, the procurement division and how tenders are handed out. Siyazi uba abantu abaninzi bathi xa befika kweli xesha le-tender mhlawumbi okanye ubona lo advertisement ekhutshiweyo uqonde ukubana ufuna ukutsiba nawe ube yinxalenye yayo kanti uzifaka emgibeni. Namhlanje ke sikunika zonke ke zozixhobo. Ukhumbule ke nawe ukuba ungasifumana kapha estudio the number is 011-714-6918 and 6919. I'm checking your messages. I can see Lindo Kuhle Mseleku say they're saying the problem about our people is they're taking a lot of shortcuts in life. I mean, we've been warned a lot of people. We've watched shows like Cutting Edge and all, but once we hear the word money, it's like we lose it. Big Imbenza says, I ngempela le ndaba yama illegal tenders iyahlupha because innocent people end up being victims and it becomes hard to even trust workers of the department because some of them yibugebengu. You know, it seems a lot of people are truly, you know, they're clued up when it comes to these issues because also you must understand ukuthi kuna mashishini asakhasayo, you know, people want to have their way through into the business world. But I understand not all is bad, Francois. We have now the central supplier database, a new establishment. How is that going to work out? Just tell us more about it.
Yes, the Central Supplier Database is an initiative of the National Treasury and the Chief Procurement Officer that we saw speaking earlier. That now centralizes registration of suppliers across the whole of government in South Africa. So that is, we probably had 600 to 700-800 databases of supplier registration is now centralized in one place. So already since 1st of April, all national departments, all provincial departments, and the state-owned enterprises have been using this database as the only source of supplier information. And next Friday, the 1st of July, all the municipalities start using this database as well, and suppliers must make sure that they registered on that in time for that. So you won't be able to submit a tender or be paid by any government institution if you're not registered and have that supplier number there.
So this means there won't be different registrations or different databases throughout the country. We'll just have one where people can just go and pick a supplier.
That is correct. So it's one point of registration. The challenge, however, though, is that all departments still follow their own processes. They all conform to the same set of legislation and the same set of regulations, but they all have slightly different processes. What is important that people start following the etenders.gov.za website where tenders are advertised, and Thami alluded to that earlier, as probably the one place where people will go in the future. So it's etenders.gov.za. And all tenders are advertised there. So if you're in doubt, then rather go and check on that website and see if that tender is advertised. Go and search for that tender number and make sure that it's advertised on the National Treasury e-tenders website. And so these things are still separate, but the National Treasury is doing very good work. Over the last 2 years, have made rapid increases in terms of the use of technology in the way that these scams are addressed. The loopholes are being closed. There's still a long way to go, but they're working in the right direction. It doesn't take the responsibility from the individual, though, to do their own investigation. You're still very responsible as an entrepreneur. Somebody wants to break into the business. That's what you're saying. Well, let's go and hear what Sakile has to say in Durban. Sakile, welcome to the show.
Yeah, boss. Sikhona
baba kunjani?
Siyaphela mfowethu ngoba ngisakhiwa kamthethwa ngila eHamasidi endaweni yasezivaneni but ikhampani yami isakhamavela General Trading. So ngike ngathola into efana naleyo yenzeke nje this month so far bengibonwe usisi ozibiza ngoKatleho ose Cape Town offer besinikeza itender alkagesi. So we were supposed to supply ama-gases awu 400. Yes, lawo magesi ngalwa mfuthu ngawafuna ngathi ngawathola khona eCape Town lawo magesi ayibiza 296,000. Uthe ngaphambi kokuthi amagesi ngicabanga ukwathenga or ngenza ama-means atholakala. Ngase ngishona bosida ngiyocheck ukuthi ngicela bangicheck kwi-Department of Tourism ukuthi into enjenganayo ikhona ngoba sekusheshe ngendlela abiza ngayo. Sengisolisa ukuthi kwasekushesha kangaka ngithe mangifika bangisiza bathi no but lo muntu omkhuluma ngaye akaziwa kwi-department yabona. So i-concern yami kakhulu kodwa ngabo ngiyafisa ukuthi kubantu abangalandeleka babantu nabantu baboshe ngoba ngeke ngazama mhlawumbe ukuthi ngithole usizo ngokuthi ngithola amahawk because bese nginayo inamba zabo nginawo ama-emails nginayo even i-address kodwa ngizive kuyona. Ngakashoda nje ngosizo lokuthi ngikwazi ukuthi ngiwawukhe in labantu ngibathole.
All right. Okay, siyabonga kakhulu uPutsakile ngokufaka luvo lwakho. uPutsakile is just one of many people when we talk about this Ndivhuwo. I do understand that you said there have been quite a lot of arrests that have been made this year, but when it comes to prosecutions, how far are we?
So far, like I mentioned earlier on, since the task team has been established for the past financial year, we are sitting at 21 arrests already. And so far, just one person has been arrested with a conviction of 4 years direct imprisonment, where he actually paid back the amount of 55,000 rands to the complainant. So far, we actually have the investigation still in process, and we are hoping to get more convictions regarding this kind of criminal activities.
So with all these kind of updates, what does this mean for people who have already fallen scam for these on these cases? Can they get recourse later on? Can they bring their cases forward to you?
We actually appeal to all the consumers who have been actually fall prey to this kind of syndicate or this kind of criminal activity to go to their nearest police station to report the matter, or alternatively they should call our emergency line number on 0800 10 111, or alternatively send an SMS to Crime Stop line on 32211.
Okay, let's come to you, Thami. I do understand that it's a traditional policy that you first get the goods or you get the service and then payments are made later on. That's how your policy is set up. But doesn't this then open loopholes for these transgressors, or rather call them scams, to then enter into the system and also access your database? Why can't you change and then have the goods, make payments first and then have the goods delivered after payments?
Angeke kwazeke lokho siphiwe phela uhulumeni kusho ukuthi uyena ongabe esedliwa ngoba uhulumeni ukhokhela umsebenzi osuwenziwe noma impahla esiphethwe ngesandla. Kungeke kukhokheleke umsebenzi noma impahla engekho esandleni esikahulumeni ngoba yini engavimbela ukuthi zona igebengu lezi ziqhamuke zithi nanku zithole umsebenzi ne ebese ziholelwa ebese ziphela emehlweni. Kungayinto efanayo njengoba nomphakathi ulokhuza ulimala. Into ebalekile siphiwe esifuna ukuyisho ukuthi abantu bakithi kufanele ukuthi baqaphele kakhulu. Baqaphele ushilo la umnumzane uNodiye ukuthi abantu kufanele babheke noma basebenzise i-website ye-department. Yiya kwi-website ye-department leyo abakutshela ukuthi isikunike umsebenzi. Musuvila yiya ku-website ye-department noba uzifikele mathupha. Thina nje njengomnyango wezomsebenzi womphakathi sinama-ofisi ezweni lonke kuwo wonke ama-provinces. Size sinanenamba esazikhipha nyakenye during i-campaign. Lapho sasicela khona ukuthi abantu bakithi bafonele lezi namba ukuconfirma i-authenticity, ukuverify i-authenticity yelokhuzane ye-order leyo asuke benikwe yona. So
but is this information so simple? Like, is it simple kumuntu ongafundanga okanye umuntu nje ozenzela business who's not really, well learned, or are you transparent when it comes to informing businesses or amashishini that want to partner with you?
It's transparent kakhulu. transparent. Abantu, even suppliers, wonke ama-suppliers database ye-Department of Public Works abhalelwa incwadi ukubawonisha ukuthi please yenzani sure ukuthi nixhumana nathi hayi no nabanye abantu ngoba ama-scammers abhilidile.
Okay, before we go for that commercial break, let's quickly go to Nolundi, who's calling us from Khayelitsha. Nolundi, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mkhathazi.
Hi, Sisi.
Ngumama nami ozama ishishini Mkhathazi. Ngindabona ithenda i-advertiser emaphepheni yami ndobhadala. But Mkhathazi andikafumani nangoku ndiya-attenda i-meetings ndiyazama u-attenda andizenzifane kodwa ingathi zami zi-right because ndifaka kumasipala etown.
So ithini ingxaki yakho Sisinolundi uthi awudunikwa tender kodwa uyazenza zonke izinto kufanele zenzekile?
Kudala zonke izinto ndiyazenza zonke kodwa ndisalinde nangoku ndayenza from 2013.
Izinto zakho zonke zibangendlela?
Zonke izinto zami zi-right Mkhathazi ziphansi kumasipala.
Okay, sawukhe sijonge lo mba wakho xa sibuya phaa intengisweni kwangoko masike sibe sihambe siyosela amanzi asawubuya emva kwale ntengiso sikhe soqhubezela imicimbi yethu ungayindawo. Ake xesha seliqhatshwe yinja masike sibele mgama sijonge nansi imiyalezo senisithumele yona phaa Facebook. We've got Lindani Zaca othi le nto yamathenda with ubugebengu is really an irritation. I urge people to be very careful about this because they become victims and they lose their money. Gladness Ntabiseng Mashapa says people are supposed to investigate about tenders before they involve themselves in life-threatening tenders. Just let's come to you before Thami. I know that before the break Sisinolundi was saying that Nagata cared for his tenders, but you said there's a process, especially when it's under a municipality. We'll not touch on that, but what can you say to people who really want to do business or people who are already in the business, Yama tenders, but you know they keep on some falling victims and also all sorts of things? What can you say to them as somebody who's coming from Public Works? Just your parting words.
Okay. Sithanda ukuthi bantu bakithi abalumkele abaqaphele ngaso sonke isikhathi. When you are in doubt, verify all relevant details with each department. On the given numbers, we've got three numbers that we can give, which is 012-406-1463 or 2046 or 1439. Is number lezi zokuverify ukuthi ingabe leyo tender is it authentic or not? Ingabe iyiqiniso yini noma cha?
So thatha lo number sifake pha Facebook wethu. Okay, next step.
Okunye okubalekile abantu bakithi sicela ukuthi baye futhi ama-office ethu akhona ezweni lonke bayo verify. Okunye ama-goods angeke bakwethu or impahla angeke zideliviwe esitolo sokudla. Impahla zikahulumeni zideliviwa ema-office kahulumeni. Ngakho ke umuntu mangabe deliver le esitoro sokudla emgwaqweni nje or endle bobona ubugebengu lokho.
Let's come to you, Ndivhuwo. What can you suggest to, or rather advise consumers?
You know, with the numbers that we gave out, the 08600 10111 number and the 32211 number, or suggesting that the consumers go to their nearest police stations. This is where, when they go to the police station, after reporting the matter, the case docket will be taken to the Hawks' specialized commercial crime unit, where the thorough investigation will take place. And also, when they call to those numbers or send an SMS to those numbers, an inquiry docket will be opened for investigation. After the finalization of investigation, where they find the syndicate or the perpetrators, that's when we're going to effect an arrest.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. So you're advising people to go and to report these crimes. Yes. It's important to have a case number before then it's going to be referred by SAPS to you.
Yes, that's the SAPS referred the docket to the Hawks' specialized commercial crime investigation unit.
Okay, yes. Let's come to you, Francois. Your parting words?
Spoor, a wise man once told me, he said, if it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And that's important to note in these tenders. Don't be too greedy. If you are being pressurized into a very urgent tender, then there probably is good cause to investigate and go and validate all the information. Contact other people in the department to make sure that it is a legitimate tender. Don't be too greedy, and be very careful out there.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, because of time, this is where I leave it. But what I know for sure is that people who are watching at home, especially those who are in business, did get all the relevant information. Well, if you missed any number, you're going to go and find us, or rather go and find it on our Facebook page. You can also go and drop, especially when you're writing us emails. You can tell us maybe it's just an issue that you'd like us to talk about. You never know. One of these days, we might be discussing umba wakho apha studio. Ayike, masibambe ngazozibini ke nakuna apha emakhaya kubani phinde nakunye nathi kulolu sihlalo namhlanje nazo kwezinye inamba National Consumer Commission or National Credit Regulator, Credit Ombudsman. Fonelani zonke ezo nombolo uzawuthi ke mhlawumbe ufumane uncedo ngezinto enithi nijongane nazo njengabathengi. Well, that's where we leave it for today. But ke kum kwicala lam, this is where we leave it for good. Thank you so much for being a part of me and allowing me to be a part of you for the past 2 years. It is now my last show. Today was my last show with you. I appreciate each and every one of you, and of course this great team I've worked with for the past 2 years. Ngizenenze kanjalo ke bantakwethu nakubantu abazawuthi balandele emva kwam nihlabe ekhondweni. Kuthiwa ke umzingisi akanashwa. Kuthe kube ixesha elizayo kwicala lam ndingusponsor ndisawuthi sidibana pho sidibana khona. Kuthe kube ngoko camagu.